Hello friends, Nayaswami Hriman here. Today I'm going to read to you the original aims and tenets of Yogananda's work that he established early in the 1920s. He has 15 aims and ideals. The first is a universal, all-round education and the establishment of educational institutions for the development of physical, mental, and spiritual natures. Establishing schools was really the first large public service that Yogananda did as a young monk in India. He ended up near the town of Ranchi, and I think it's in Bihar, the state of Bihar. Anyway, northeast, India. And he apparently made some effort in Los Angeles early on after acquiring his headquarters to start a school, but he decided that he needed to teach adults first. Ananda has started a system of schools, but it's a very difficult thing to do. They're based on Swami Kriyananda's book, Education for Life. The schools are called Living Wisdom. Okay, second one is contacting cosmic consciousness, the ever-new, ever-existing, ever-conscious bliss. And so through meditation, concentration and meditation. Of course, this is at the core of his yoga teachings. It includes the practice of Kriya Yoga, but also other yoga techniques of meditation. Attaining bodily health through the Yogoda technique of recharging the body battery from inner life energy. The teaching of his energization exercises is slowly catching on, but I have a personal belief that in the decades and centuries to come, this system of exercising and recharging the body battery, as he calls it, in a standing position, will become increasingly recognized and scientifically tested for all the benefits that it offers in a relatively short amount of space without commitment to exercise equipment or going to gymnasiums. The only thing seeming to be missing is the heart rate increase, whatever that's called, I forget now. Although running in place is part of the exercises. Yogananda would sometimes dash around the old tennis court at his headquarters on Mount Washington to get his heart rate up. So, there can be some complementary, and of course Hatha Yoga is excellent for those who have the time and the skill to do so. Number 4, intelligently maintaining the physical body on unadulterated foods. Well, what are unadulterated foods if not what we now call organic foods? However that's defined, I don't know, but there's different definitions of what is organic, but you get the general idea. He was already a promoter, in other words, of natural foods, including a large percentage of raw fruits, vegetables, and nuts. In other words, the yogic vegetarian diet was something that he promoted, and he wrote dozens of recipes that he printed in his lessons, which for the time was pretty out there, 5, physical, mental, and spiritual healing. He doesn't elaborate, but he certainly gave us techniques for spiritual healing. And then in his original lessons, he gave all sorts of interesting energy techniques for healing. I'm not going to go into those here. Some of them are in his little book, Scientific Healing Affirmations, but others exist in his original lessons, things that you, like solar energy, what's that? Heliotropic methods of healing. Number 6, establishing by a scientific system of realization the absolute basic harmony and oneness of Christianity, Hindu yoga teachings, and all true religions. Well, he did interpretations, as you know, of the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. He didn't do others, but he set into place that essential teaching, and he through the lens, the filter, that's not really a filter, but the lens of universality, but also cosmic consciousness, union with God as the highest teaching of creation and purpose, to apply that lens to body, mind, and soul through the teachings of all true religions. He did say that not all religions have their genesis in the highest state of realization, but those who are at least sincere and true will get there one way or the other. Okay. 7. Serving all mankind as one's larger self. This is both the attitude of karma yoga, offering all the fruits of one's labors to God as an act of devotion, but also to find practical ways to serve one's fellow beings and creatures and so on. 8, demonstrating the superiority of mind over body and of soul over mind. 9, fighting the Satan of ignorance, man's common enemy. Well, I don't know what to do with that. He said, I add my testimony to that of those who followed, who preceded me, rather, that Satan exists. Now, he didn't mean the guy in that red suit with the pitchfork, but he meant the conscious, intentional, in effect omnipresent, in the creation at least, delusive power that seeks to separate us and seeks to affirm the reality of separateness. Okay. I think that number 9 is an affirmation of the need for us to realize that delusion is not just a reality, but it's a conscious force. And being a reality and a conscious force, it's going to be bigger than any specific temptation or delusion, and bigger than the consciousness of any being who is identified with a particular body and therefore resides in the ego. 10, establishing a spiritual unity among all nations. 11, overcoming evil by good, sorrow by joy, cruelty by kindness. 12, realization of the purpose of life as being the evolution of human consciousness into divine consciousness through individual struggle. So in that sentence, he is not contrasting, but showing both and the evolution of human consciousness through what in India are known as the cycles of consciousness, the yuga cycles, but also indicating that regardless of mass consciousness at any point in human history, that we only achieve that evolution by our individual effort. 13, realization of the truth that human life is given to man to afford him opportunity to manifest his inner divine qualities and not for pleasure, mere pleasure or selfish purposes. Okay. Furthering the cultural and spiritual understanding between East and West and the constructive exchange of distinctive features of their civilization. And finally, 15, uniting science and religion through study and practical realization of the unity of their underlying principles. What are some of those underlying principles? Well, one that we speak of often in the field of yoga is the superiority of actual experience, realization, over dogma or principles. That's certainly a principle of science. That includes then the importance of testing the validity of one's ideas, testing the actual validity of things like meditation, of healthy living, all the precepts previously read there. So to have a spirit of scientific inquiry into the meaning of life, into the purpose of life, into what brings to us happiness. So that spirit of openness that ideally is the spirit of scientific inquiry, though in principle isn't always present, but that spirit of scientific, objective openness and inquiry into all the aspects of life is what unites science and religion. Okay, great souls, that's it for today. Joy.